Hey, what's up, y'all? This is Shah. I got more news about the Titan sub. I've been following it closely for a few days, and I've tried to, just keep a list of significant events in the case that I've come across. Also, we've got Mark Senpai.
Hey, how's it going?
There is a good amount of stuff to cover, so let's just get right into it. So first off, we had the whole, search. The Coast Guard was looking. Everybody was counting how many hours of oxygen they had left. But it turns out that the U.S. Navy heard the likely implosion of the missing Titan sub on Sunday. So what that means is that way before the whole media storm frenzy already happened, the Navy already was pretty sure that these guys were gone and that the sub imploded because they have such advanced sensors in the ocean and they were able to pick up on it and determine what happened. But they didn't say anything because either they don't want to reveal what technologies they have. I mean, they did end up saying, or maybe they weren't sure. But the media picked up and ran with it. Everybody waited with bated breath, and it all was kind of a waste of time because we could have all just knew they were gone and, went from there. But another person who kind of figured out what happened actually kind of impresses me. There was this guy on TikTok.
I may or may not have just found the missing submarine. If you go back 2 videos ago, I predicted that this would happen. This is a free shark tracking app that you can download on your phone right now. Just type in Shark Tracker in the App Store. And these 2 sharks pinged this morning at 7 o'clock and 8 o'clock in the morning. The 2 sharks are Andromache and Simon. Every living creature has patterns in their behavior. And this is not a pattern. This will inevitably get deleted by OSearch, the shark tracking app. But the statistical likelihood of both of these sharks swimming to the exact same location where the Titanic sunk and Titan, the missing submarine, is located is an imaginary number that doesn't exist. This is the location of the Titanic, and that is the exact same location where the sharks pinged this morning. Whoever is looking for the crew in the submarine Titan needs to contact OSearch instantaneously and ask them for the coordinates before they delete them. I know on here we have a lot of fun with the Megalodon conspiracy theories, but I genuinely, to my core, believe that this ping is accurately showing where the submarine is. At the very least, OSearch, if you see this video, please stop removing the pings that you consider glitches. They are not.
They did end up removing the pings after this, but there's enough people that saw that this really happened.
Not glitches. There are things in the ocean that are being pinged accidentally, and you have the opportunity to figure out what that is.
So this guy was able to get a pretty close reading on where the sub was just from watching Simon and Andromache swim out there. The weird thing about it, though, is that it seems like the sharks had to go a very long way.
Yeah.
So I don't know if the sharks actually did, but they are pinging on this thing. So that's the strange thing. And it all seemed to track with when Titan went down.
Yeah.
So I'm not really sure. Maybe the sharks were involved. Maybe they helped destroy the sub. I don't know. Let's just take a look at another article on that. 2 sharks believed to have traveled thousands of miles have been circling the area in the Atlantic Ocean where the sub went missing on Sunday. According to a shark tracker company that said they may have been attracted by the sounds of the vessel. The sharks were circling the area on Wednesday, but the pings were removed by the afternoon, experts have said. Oceark, a nonprofit that tracks sharks, announced on Twitter at 10 a.m. and 11 a.m. we had pings from 2 different sharks near the Titanic. They questioned whether the sharks were being attracted by the sounds or whether they were just false pings coming from the submarine itself. I don't know how the submarine would ping onto the Shark Tracker app if it didn't have a tracker on it that interfaces with this app, but maybe there's some more complicated technological answer. One of the sharks named by the company as Simon was thought to be in the area this morning where the submersible went down. So here's the picture. Here's where the sharks usually are. And then way in the heck over here is where Simon and Andromache allegedly made a, marathon-esque stride all the way over here to go see what was going on. So, I don't know. Is it possible? Maybe. A mal released by the company appears to show that the sharks traveled a far distance to the area. Squale, a TikToker user who regularly posts shark content, said he noticed the pings on a free shark tracking app. So anyways, I think that's kind of interesting. The only part that's significant about this is that it would have happened early enough maybe for the Coast Guard to be able to find these people. Though, you know, as much as I like sharks, I used to love sharks when I was a kid. They were probably already looking by the Titanic. So all I'm saying is that we had the sharks and we had the Navy already on top of this before anybody else was. Aside from this and maybe being able to find it, or whether or not this was all just a wild goose chase for a sub that already imploded, there's been a lot coming out about the CEO of OceanGate, which led this expedition into a water, and a lot of corners that were cut, and just a lot of things in general. So let's go ahead and get into that.
I'd like to be remembered as an innovator. I think it was General MacArthur said, "You're remembered for the rules you break." And, you know, I've broken some rules to make this. I think I've broken them with logic and good engineering behind me. The carbon fiber and titanium, there's a rule you don't do that. Well, I did. It's
Wow.
So anyways, yeah, that was just one of the many rules that he broke. The carbon fiber that he used on the hull of the Titan, he actually bought from Boeing at a discounted rate because it was past its shelf life, to where they didn't even want to use it on their planes. And apparently, from what I've read, is that he wasn't stress testing this thing. So the thing that's crazy about this is that this sub actually went to the Titanic 3 times before it imploded on this 4th one.
Oh, wow.
So I didn't know that before. But what they're saying is that the carbon fiber, each time it went down and came back up, there was, you know, like micro cracks and things like that all accumulating until it led to like the catastrophic implosion that I guess occurred. So James Cameron is the guy that directed the Titanic, and he's been in the news recently explaining what went wrong. He's not just the director. James Cameron has actually went down to the Titanic like several times and been there. And he's also one of the few people who have gone down to the deepest point in the ocean floor, in the Marianas Trench, I think.
Yeah.
So he's very familiar with all this submarine stuff, submersibles, and the safety and the risks and all that stuff. And he was actually, I think, offered by this company to go down, and he refused because he was making Avatar 2.
Yeah.
So he kind of missed, you know.
Dodged a bullet.
Yeah, or an implosion. But anyways, let's check this out.
I think that's pretty clear. I wish I had been more vocal about that, but I think I was unaware that they weren't certified because I wasn't really studying it. I wasn't really interested. Stockton Rush asked me if I wanted to go out there and dive this season. You know, I wasn't interested. There was a lot of concern about this outfit and this sub. A lot of concern, even to the extent that I wasn't involved in it because I was making Avatar 2 at the time, but a lot of them got together and wrote a letter to OceanGate and said, you have to certify. You cannot take people down. It's irresponsible, and it could lead to catastrophe. Monday morning, when I first found out about the incident, got on a whole bunch of calls and emails. It's a small community. Within an hour and a half, I had the following information. They were on descent. They were at 3,500 feet. They lost comms and tracking. The last one being the critical one, because the transponder that's used to track a sub during descent and on the bottom is a fully autonomous system. It's in its own pressure housing, and it has its own battery power. So for them to lose comms and tracking at the same time, sub was gone. There was no question in my mind. For days, I tried to run other scenarios that could account for it. I could come up with nothing. So the next thing I did was contacted a few more people and managed to track down, there are acoustic networks around. Some are research, some are intelligence. We got confirmation within an hour that there had been a loud bang at the same time that that comms were lost. A loud bang on the hydrophones, loss of transducer or transponder, loss of comms. I knew what happened. Sub imploded. I sent emails to everybody I know. I said, we've lost some friends. The sub has imploded. It's on the bottom in pieces right now. I sent that out Monday morning. I never believed in that technology of wound carbon fiber, wound filament, cylindrical hull. I thought it was a horrible idea. I wish I'd spoken up, but I assumed somebody was smarter than me, because I'd never experimented with that technology, but it just sounded bad on its face, because we make pressure hulls out of contiguous material: steel, titanium, ceramic, acrylic. And so you can model it. You can do finite element analysis of it. And, you understand the yield properties. You understand the number of cycles that it can take. But you can't do that with a composite material because it's two dissimilar materials, sort of bonded together. And so we all knew that the danger was delamination and progressive failure over time with microscopic water ingress and fatigue, what they call cycling fatigue. And we knew that if the sub passed its pressure test, it wasn't going to fail on the first dive. It might fail on dive 7, or I don't know what they're at, but it's going to fail over time, which is insidious. You don't get that with steel or with titanium. Now there's one wreck lying next to the other wreck for the same damn reason. OceanGate shouldn't have been doing what it did.
So, yeah, that explains a lot of the physics of what happened. Essentially, from what I can gather, is the deeper in the water you go, obviously with all the water weight on top of you, it increases pressure on the submersible. I think I might have the numbers wrong, but I think it's like 300, like at that level, way down there, it's like hundreds of times greater than the normal pressure we're used to being in the atmosphere.
Yeah.
And it's measured in atmospheres too. So right now when you walk outside, that's 1 atmosphere. And if you go underwater, it starts to increase. And what ended up happening is there was so much pressure when it finally gave out, that whole thing just smashed together like a soda can. And it apparently happens so fast, and the air and everything gets compressed so fast that it literally creates like a fire. It really is like a kind of like fire explosion or something in there.
Yeah.
So people get like incinerated or something, and it happens so fast in the blink of an eye, probably even before you really know what happened, you know. So he knew early on, and that tracks with what the Navy was thinking. And then eventually they found the debris and were able to corroborate it. So you see how it just bam, pow. So there's a good few examples. Boom. There were also, so this thing went down like 3 times, and it checked out the Titanic and everything. And there's actually like documentary videos of people going down in there. So let's go and just skip through one of these just to learn a little bit about it. I found this. I thought it was interesting.
I don't know what's going on. I feel like...
Like what? Like the thrusters?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on.
So here's what it looks like on the inside. And what's significant about this, he's like, I don't know what's going on. But basically in this documentary, it's like when they went down for the 2nd or 3rd time, what actually happened is someone put one of the thrusters on backwards. So the sub kept spinning around.
Oh, no.
So it's just revealing that like they weren't doing safety checks before getting in and out of the water.
Yeah.
There was a lot of cut corners here. And it was only a matter of time before this went down,
Man.
We have a grid map that corresponds with the grid map that Topside has.
So 946.
That's 947.
It's like Battleship. They tell us which square we're in. So we had kind of a good idea which square we were in, but we had Topside confirm that with us and then give us a heading.
Is something going on with my thrusters? I'm thrusting and nothing's happening.
Range.
Because one's on backwards.
And bearing.
Man, bro, I would... Mark, can you take a second and imagine what it'd be like just be sitting in here in this cramped ass space for hours? People all farting.
Man. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And the thing about that too is like, you're just breathing that in,
Yeah.
adding to the pressure.
Oh, exactly.
And the thing about deep sea diving, like scuba diving, or even like things like this, where like you're trying to go deep into the ocean with a submarine, it's like if you have an emergency, there's no such thing as like, oh, we're gonna resurface immediately.
Yeah.
You can't just bug out that fast because of the pressures that are built up. You get the bends and all that stuff.
Yeah.
You have to slowly resurface in a process that takes like, it's a considerable amount of time. So if there is an emergency, like you're stuck down there, which is why for me, like that's just not my thing. Like that's not my lane.
Oh
I
God, no.
I could do like a I don't know, like I'm not even sure if I could do that. I'm just not okay with like being submerged underwater like for like extended periods of time. I'd rather be like the guy like in the sky. Like I could fly, I could like jump out of a plane, but I just could not be like trapped in that sort of space, especially that kind of space for like anything more than like 10 minutes. I'd be like, nah, I gotta get out of here.
Yeah, you know, man, when I was younger, I think that kind of stuff seemed cool to me. I remember wanting to go skydiving for a long time. That's like, you know, I guess the most comparable thing I could think of towards this.
Mm-hmm.
And now that I'm older, I'm like, I don't even want to do that. You know what I mean? It's just
Yeah.
not, it's not worth it. You know, I mean, you know, this is a classic case of people just being convinced by someone who really looks like he knows what they're talking about.
Yeah.
I can see, like, I was looking at when I first heard about it, I was kind of like, what's wrong with these people? Why would they get on this? How dumb are these people? I was, you know, like, I was laughing about it, truth be told, because I was like, why would anybody pay all this money to get on this sub that's not certified or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
The more I learn about it, I do feel bad for the people because they were convinced. I mean, like, this thing went up and down 3 times.
Yeah.
You know, so it went a few times. They probably got sold on it on that. Whatever, this carbon, they didn't know much about submersibles. And they probably thought, oh, it works fine. It's been tested a few times. And eventually that led to being convinced. But this is like, you cannot let people just convince you to do things like this.
Yeah.
Which honestly, you know, I've been looking at the victims. So I found like a pretty good article that kind of discusses it. I know there was a 19-year-old on board, and that's who I really feel bad for.
Yeah, that's a shame.
But let's just go ahead and take a moment to remember the victims here. Okay, so here's what we know. So here are the victims. And I'm not going to read all of this, but at least we can kind of just figure out who's who here, you know. So the first one is Stockton Rush, and this was the CEO of OceanGate. This is the one everybody's mad at right now. I think it's ironic that his last name is Rush, because boy, was this thing rushed. Let's not spend too much time on him. I think we've heard enough about him. And here's Hamish Harding, age 58. So he is a Dubai-based British businessman, was the chairman of Action Aviation, whose services include aircraft brokerage, aircraft management, aircraft financing. So it sounds like he's a British billionaire and that he was an adventurer, you know, and liked to do this stuff. Alongside explorer Victor Vescovo, he dove to the depths of the Mariana Trench in 2021. And that's like the deepest place on Earth. So I guess he'd been doing this before, and somehow he got roped into this and, you know, ended up going down. He wrote he was proud to join the expedition as a mission specialist. So it sounds like he was a guy with experience. And, you know, I guess that's how he ended up on board. The team on the sub has a couple of legendary explorers, some of which have done over 30 dives to the RMS Titanic since the 1980s. And I think they're talking about the next guy. So the next guy is Paul-Henri Nargeolet, age 77. And Nargeolet was a world-renowned Titanic expert who has completed more than 30 dives to the historic wreck. So he's been down there 30 times.
Wow.
His photos of the ship reportedly inspired his friend James Cameron's 1997 classic Titanic. So he went down there, took pictures of it, and those photos inspired James Cameron that gave us that movie. I don't know if you guys remember that Titanic movie. I just remember it was so big. I think that was like the most highest grossing movie in theaters for a while.
It still is.
Is it?
Yeah, it only recently got eclipsed, I think, by
Some of the Marvel stuff or
some
something?
of the Marvel and Avatar.
Oh, wow.
So James Cameron
did it twice.
He holds
wow.
like a lot of the top I think the
Wow.
top 5 like
Well,
highest
you know what
grossing
I remember
movies.
about that movie? I remember going to Blockbuster and our family renting it, and literally it being so long you needed 2 VHS tapes.
Yeah, he did. and you know, at that time when it came out, like it was such a popular thing. Like you'll never see something that popular again. Like the way it was so pervasive in like society. Like
yeah,
memes didn't exist back then, but
everybody went to see it. Like our parents went to see it.
Yeah, and you knew when you stood in some place with your arms out and like a guy was behind you or someone was behind you, like you were doing Titanic. Like
yeah, that's right.
It was the first like meme before memes were even invented. Like one of the most memorable ones that everyone in the world knows about. You know,
man, that kind of makes me want to watch Titanic. Now, it is a long-ass movie.
It is.
And in this culture of short attention spans, I don't know how long I'll be able to make it in there before I fall asleep, but I might give it a shot. Anyways, so this guy had been down there 30 times. In a 2019 interview with the Irish Examiner, Nargiolais said he was never scared when under the sea. If you are 11 meters or 11 kilometers down, if something bad happens, the result is the same, he said. When you're in very deep water, you're dead before you realize that something is happening, so it's just not a problem. That appears to be what happened there with the implosion. So, you know, a former French naval captain who worked for over 20 years in mine disposal, Nargiolais specialized in deep-sea diving and submersibles. He is perhaps best known for his work on the Titanic, to which he has dedicated most of his career. He was with the first human expedition to the ship in 1987 and went on to salvage thousands of items from the area surrounding and inside the wreckage. So he'd been down there 30 times. Man, he's 77, you know, and then it's sad that, you know, this is how it ended for him.
Yeah. Yeah, you think for like at that time he's like, oh, it's another routine dive.
Yeah,
I'll be back. You know, and
that's probably what it was. You know, and so you know the next two people are the Pakistani guy and then his 19-year-old son, and that's who I really feel bad for is the kid.
Yeah.
But I can kind of see how they got sucked into this. I mean, I'm being charitable here. Like, yeah, I can be like, man, why would you guys do that? That's really stupid. They deserve what they got. Blah blah blah. But you know, okay, you got this freaking guy who's been down there 30 times.
Yeah.
He inspired the movie Titanic. They got this other billionaire dude. I mean, not saying you should base it off of this, but I could see how they kind of got convinced to go.
Yeah.
I guess. Anyway, so here they are. So we got Shahzada Dawood, age 48, and son Suleiman Dawood, age 19. And these are really rich guys. Like, they own a big fertilizer company in Pakistan. And that's, I guess, what made them rich. So Shahzada was the vice chairman of the Dawood Hercules Corporation, a Pakistani investment and holding company. It's part of the Dawood Group, a century-old family business, according to his profile in the SETI Institute, a California-based group that searches for extraterrestrial intelligence. Okay, a man of culture, and of which he's a board member. So they lived in UK. He lives with his wife, Christine, and this is the son, the 19-year-old. Now, what I read about this, oh, here we go, right here. NBC News quoted Shahzada's sister, Asma Dawood, as saying her nephew, Suleiman, so that's that 19-year-old kid here, which is where the real tragedy for me lies in, informed a relative that he wasn't very up for it and felt terrified about the underwater trip. Asma said he ended up going because it was Father's Day weekend, and he was eager to please his dad, who was passionate about Titanic lore. So the dad was, I don't know if he was a member of the Explorers Club or what it was, but he was really into the Titanic stuff, and it was Father's Day, so he was like, I'm going to go with my dad so we can spend Father's Day weekend together doing something memorable, and then BAM!
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sheesh.
Yeah. So that's the sad part, man. I feel bad. I feel bad for those two.
Man.
But yeah, I mean, that's what I got so far on this. There's a lot of memes running around. I don't want to laugh about the situation, but damn, the jokes just write themselves.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, they do take it. They're taking it.
Yeah. Oh my God. The internet's having a freaking field day with this. And you know, well, it seems that this situation's resolved. We know it imploded. The public consciousness has learned a lot about how submersibles work and the danger of high pressurization.
Yeah.
The death probably was painless, though I have read that they probably knew something was wrong because they had allegedly emergency systems that would tell them something was wrong. So they might have been trying to go back up, but then it all collapsed. But it would have been like an instantaneous collapse.
Yeah, those are quick.
Like pulverization. I mean, we're talking pink mist, possibly.
No, definitely.
And then you would have had Simon and Andromache circling around, seeing if they can eat anything. I don't know. I don't know what Simon was doing over there.
Yeah, that seems like what's going on. Like they were just like, oh, let me follow these guys.
Somehow the sharks went over there, and so yeah, that's the information I've gathered on this.
Yeah, it's wild, man. You think about like, you know, you think about the stuff you get into, you know, like on a daily basis. Like you hop into a car every day, and also like you go into your office, like let's say you work, and the building's built by someone you don't know. The electricity, all the circuits and wiring are done by people you don't know. You know, maybe you get into an elevator, you know, you don't know who put that in there. It's like a whole bunch of like, it does make you think like of how how far we've kind of come in terms of like, okay, we figured out like these are the standard practices that should be followed when you are trying to do a certain thing, like, you know, put someone in an elevator and get them up to like 10 floors, or something like, you know, trying to bring people down to the deepest depths of the ocean. You know, I think that there, you know, you have to kind of sit back and appreciate the standards that do exist, you know, that have been established by engineers, and I hope that people from now on, you know, continue to follow it. I mean, because this was just an egregious, like,
oh, there were so many corners cut.
Yeah, like that is just, it's
the
just
rule breaking.
Yeah, it's just crazy. I mean, to think that even for someone that's been doing it for like, who's gone down there 30 times, at that point you kind of know, like, you know, even if you get past your first dive, you're never past it. That's just the beginning of it. Like James Cameron said, anything can happen after like the 6th or 7th dive. So it's just like, you know, that's just basic mechanical engineering. You know, like you should have known that it's not just the first dive you make it. Like, it's going to continuously contract and get pressurized and then expand, and then like it's got to be able to handle that. You know,
that's
like,
a scary thing, because I can't remember what it's called, but it's like a principle in engineering where on a long enough timeline something's going to fail.
Yeah.
And I mean, in this instance, it's crazy because it's like on that 4th one or whatever, finally that one thing that gave out or whatever finally couldn't take it anymore after repeated use, finally went, and then it was over. And it shouldn't have happened, or at least it should have been rated. You know, that reminds me of another thing. Here's a series of emails from the CEO I think this is a guy that he fired or was in a lawsuit with the company, which was an engineer that was saying, hey, this isn't safe. And the CEO, I think, got rid of him because, you know, he was trying to move forward and this guy was kind of an obstacle. But here it is, to Stockton Rush. It says, you are wanting to use, so this is from Rob McCallum, who I guess is an engineer working on the project. He said, you are wanting to use a prototype unclassed technology in a very hostile place. As much as I appreciate entrepreneurship and innovation, you are potentially putting an entire industry at risk. Stockton responds to this and says, I know that our engineering-focused, innovative approach, as opposed to an existing standards compliance-focused design process, flies in the face of the submersible orthodoxy, but that is the nature of innovation. So you can see in his language, like, this is all essentially just basically saying, hey, I want to cut corners, stop calling me off, but he's framed it in a way to where he's like this maverick, this hero, this like intrepid explorer. I mean, engineering-focused, innovative approach as opposed to standards, compliance-focused design process. That's basically saying, hey, we're being unsafe as opposed to standard safety established protocols. Yeah. And then he calls it an orthodoxy. And an orthodoxy kind of has this like negative meaning of like people who are so rigid in their thinking. Yeah. They just can't be open-minded at all and aren't able to innovate. But really, like, it was strict for a reason.
There's a reason why.
Yeah.
It's like one of the most hostile places.
Yeah, and you know, he really freaking learned his lesson. I have grown tired of industry players who try to use a safety argument to stop innovation. So this is the CEO talking. And new entrants. So he's saying new entrants are being barred from participating in this industry, and that there's this cabal, a kind of, Inquisition kind of, people who are stopping anybody new from trying to get in on the action. They're just trying to keep them at bay. They're calling them the JV team. He's not appreciating it. And, that's how so you can see where his mind is.
Yeah. But I acknowledge that. That is a thing that happens. I mean, it's like when you have these large companies that have years, decades of experience and know-how and knowledge and the logistics to back it up and the money, it does create barriers to entry for new groups that want to enter the same market. But the answer cannot be to just suddenly throw out the standards that have been established, because those big companies had to learn the hard way. That's why the standards are written in there. It's not because we want to keep innovation out. It's because we want to keep people alive when they use the product. Yeah, it's just as simple as that.
Especially if you're selling it to the public.
Exactly. Right? Yes.
So it's very easy for like corporate greed to lead to innocent people dying, you know?
Yeah, and it's such a and I do work in tech, so I this really does resonate with me. I just hate how he's trying to mask it as like, oh, I'm trying to do the good for everybody. You are breaking so many rules, and you had to learn the hard way. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's it. That's just, and you know, you imagine like if it wasn't that bad, like let's say they did survive this, they came back up, and maybe something minor happened.
Yeah.
He would have been like, well, I don't deserve to get. There's no lawsuit here. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
It's just nuts. You know that there are people like that in these kind of industries that
Oh yeah.
just don't give a fuck.
Yeah,
Like,
it's almost narcissistic. It's
much so.
egomaniacal, you know, and it's just, I mean, listen, the emails get worse. Look, let me read the next sentence to you. Since Guillermo and I started OceanGate, we have heard the baseless cries of "you are going to kill someone" way too often. I take this as a serious personal insult. Is
Yeah.
that not crazy?
Yeah, that is.
I mean,
nuts.
a serious personal. So he had safety regulators trying to tell him what was going wrong. He's like, he took it as a personal insult. So the ego was definitely put in front of the project here, in front of the safety standards. So here's the response from Rob. I think you are potentially placing yourself and your clients in a dangerous dynamic. Ironically, in your race to Titanic, you are mirroring that famous catch cry, "She is unsinkable." Having dived the Titanic and having stood in a coroner's court as a technical expert, it would be remiss of me not to bring this to your attention. It was bound to happen. It's sad that, you know, that 19-year-old kid had to die. That's what I feel bad about.
Yeah.
You know, even for the older guys too. It's just for older guys, I'm like, man, well, at least they got to live some life out more. And
Yeah.
but hey, you know, our time is written, and you know, we have to have some kind of understanding of that and acceptance of that. As a bonus, before I leave you guys, I do have some more UAP related news.
Oh.
And this is kind of an outcropping from the Navy having picked up on the loud bang, because it was kind of revealing the amount of technology they have to listen for things going on the bottom of the ocean floor. And Mark, I think you and I both know what's on the bottom of the ocean floor.
Uh-huh.
The UAPs. So let's go ahead and take a look at that.
Atlantis.
So here we go. This is in UFOs, a subreddit I follow pretty dang closely. Navy Listening Network has tracked objects going thousands of miles per hour underwater. All right, so this is going to be. So let's go and see what a one Joshua Reed has to say. Well, since they said it, I guess we can talk about it. Did you know back in the 1970s, the U.S. Navy placed acoustic sensor devices all throughout the ocean floor? This was to map the ocean floor, detect submarines, and to find other anomalies. So, you know, the Cold War is going on at this time. We can't let the Soviets, you know, be right outside on our coast and all that stuff. The technology covers a large portion of the ocean floor and has given the Navy an amazing perspective of the underwater terrain. One of my contacts while in the Navy who worked on the ASW team who was responsible for monitoring these sensors would discuss underwater submersible objects they detected that would travel at thousands of miles per hour underwater. He said they have also detected various structures underwater that are active and they stay clear of. Now, that's interesting to me because it points straight to the UAPs. And from the 4chan whistleblower, you know, this is the guy that went on 4chan and answered all those questions, and this is right before the David Grush whistleblower came out, which kind of corroborated a lot of what was on the 4chan post, is that there is a UAP manufacturing facility actually in the bottom of the ocean, I think in the Atlantic. So the UAPs being seen going in and out of the water, we have footage of that.
Mm-hmm.
This kind of tracks all with the Navy knowing about it and all these kinds of things. So I just wanted to throw that in there. And hopefully we'll get more information on that soon. Anyways, yeah, that's what I got for the Titan sub. I just wanted to get through that and put that out there because I made that prior video. Anyways, hit that like button. Let me know what you guys think. Hit the subscribe button. Every time I see a word that has sub in it,
now
like I just see so many things, you know, like subscribe, subway, you know,
substandard engineering practices.
Well, so yeah, let us know what you think down below. Hit that subscribe button again. And well, we'll catch you on the next one. I want to, you know, I feel like after I put this video out, there's going to be like 10 more things that come out that show why this was a disaster. Every time I go on my phone, I see another piece of information that shows why this shouldn't have happened. And it just seems to be getting more and more ridiculous. I think everyone's waiting for the Netflix documentary to come out on this.
Oh, yeah.